Hello, Provo City. I'm Superintendent Dow from the Provo City School District. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, otherwise known as Tax Day. I'm sure there's all other sorts of nicknames that we have for this particular day. Just want to give a big shout out to this week's Provo Way Award winner. It is Paris Belbach. She is a sixth grade teacher at Timpanogos Elementary, and her nomination comes from Sarah Jensen, who is a fellow teacher at Timpanogos. And this is what Sarah had to say about Paris. Paris is excellent. She goes above and beyond to create a positive and safe environment for our students. She understands that many of them are learning English as another language, and she provides them with the tools to succeed while still holding them to a high standard. So we want to give a big shout out to Paris. If your child has Paris as a teacher, we would love for you to give her a congratulations and just thank her for putting in all of the extra time and support that she does to help our students. We have our Board of Education meeting this evening. The study session will begin at 4:10 p.m. in Boardroom 1 here at the district office, with our business meeting beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Professional Development Center here at the district office. We have the results of our boundary and feasibility study that will be shared out with the public today. It can already be accessed and looked at on board docs. It has a lot of recommendations about how we can shift some boundaries to make our buildings more efficient. We also have the results of a community survey wherein our community really does value a lot of the programs and special offerings that we have here in Provo. Also shows that many of our community members are willing to pay more in taxes to support those programs. So that's something to keep in mind. And that also, there are some recommendations there in terms of that our community really values neighborhood schools, that those communities and those neighborhoods are very important here in Provo. And so those are some really great things to provide to our Board of Education as they're making decisions about how to best utilize the resources that we have that have been given from the taxpayers. We are discussing all sorts of different types of programs within our schools, from the fact that we have music programs and arts programs, and we have DLI, and we have a gifted and talented program, all the way to athletics programs, and how can we make these things so that we're providing these opportunities for students while still being really responsible with the resources that they have, while also compensating our teachers and employees appropriately, while also ensuring that our students are making the growth and the progress that they need to be making. And so our Board of Education is going to take the next month and a half to really go through all of those different pieces. There is nothing that is being eliminated. We're just looking at different options and then things that we need to study further. So for example, we're already putting in place a study for a gifted and talented program at the elementary level. That's already in full swing. We're going to be doing the same thing with our dual language immersion programs. Just looking at ways in which we can continue to provide the great educational opportunities that we do, and possibly find ways in which we can do so more efficiently, or do so in ways that just make more sense. And so we just have a lot of steps to take. Don't assume that anything is happening. Ask questions, say, tell me more, and pay attention to board meeting, because a lot of really great information comes out in board meetings. And when we post those minutes after the fact, it tells you the timestamp of when you can listen to those discussions. So you don't have to listen to all of board meeting if there's a particular discussion that's of interest to you. So I appreciate our administrative assistant for always doing such a great job of putting that together. We have so many different things to consider with finances. We have an amazing business administrator, Devin Daly, who really thinks outside the box, who is pulling in all of this information and questions that are coming from the Board of Education as they're trying to make the best decisions with regard to our budgets. We're bringing in information that we have from our employees, as well as information that we have from the community about the things that are valued. And then the Board of Education will make those decisions and start to prioritize some things. And so we just need to be really responsible with the resources that we have and be really transparent about how we're utilizing those resources. Sometimes people ask, and we have individuals that post and say things like, well, other districts are able to provide this pay raise or provide these resources. And we need to think about some different things that might be unique to Provo. So for example, I had a patron who suggested, well, how come Salt Lake City District has higher pay for teachers and administrators, and at the same time, they have lower class sizes? Well, let's think about Salt Lake City. I would love for you to go and look at the tax rate for Salt Lake City and see how much those individuals pay in property taxes. I would also, because that's how they're funding, that's how they voted for a $750 million bond to rebuild 2 high schools and to build a tech center. So those are some things that were really prioritized in their community, but they also closed 4 elementary schools. And so that's at a cost savings that happens. So as we start looking at those kinds of things, just kind of keep in mind that every school district has its own set of challenges. For example, in Provo, we have 40% of our property that is not taxable because it is owned by entities that are not taxable. And so what that does in terms of, we don't want to raise those property taxes so that we're putting a chokehold on our constituents. We want to be really responsible with the resources that we have and try to work within the budgets that we have. And so when we're looking at, say, building a building, we have to use bonds in order to do that. But a lot of school districts also use truth in taxation as a way to boost teacher salaries. And traditionally, our board has been very hesitant to do those kinds of things. So I just want to take all of that into account as we look at those pieces and look at how we're budgeting those things. And please communicate with your board members. Please communicate with myself. Please communicate with our business administrator. As you have questions, ask those questions so that we can address them either in video casts, we can bring them up in board meetings. I know a lot of our board members bring those questions to the board meeting and then have our business administrator answer those. We want to be really clear about what's guiding our decision making, and we need to hear from you. That becomes really important as we move this process forward to make Provo City School District a destination district for all. We are also currently looking at tonight some of the schematics for the next phase of the Timpview High construction. We'll have more information about that at a later board meeting, but some of that will be shared initially this evening. That may be of interest to you. We are also getting more information on Wasatch Elementary. Many of you may know that one of the walls has been compromised, not the walls that are directly attached and supporting the school, but we have one that is on the south end that a parking lot is on. We are working with our construction team, with our engineering team to really identify what the source of the situation is. And as soon as we have that plan put in place, we're going to communicate that out so that you know what that entails, what the timeline looks like, how we're mitigating that, what we've discovered in that process. So we want to be really transparent with all of you about that as well. We look forward to a Community Connections Committee meeting, which will be taking place on Thursday of this week. And so we will report out more on the suggestions and the ideas that that committee brings to the table as well. And with that, I want to wish all of you a fantastic week. Thanks, everybody.